She lost the race everyone expected her to dominate, and 3 days later she walked into a different stadium and destroyed the field. But here's the part nobody is talking about yet. The time she ran in that comeback race might be the scariest number in women's sprinting right now. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why her rival should be worried. Before we get into this, if you're into track and field breakdowns like this one, hit that subscribe button right now, because we're about to unpack a rivalry that is shaping up to be the biggest story in athletics for the rest of 2026. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming at the end of this video, because there's a date circled on the calendar that could change everything we think we know about who the fastest woman in the world really is. Let's set the scene. It's June 2026, and the women's 100 meters has turned into a full-blown rivalry between two athletes who came from almost nothing and clawed their way to the top of the sport. On one side, Melissa Jefferson-Woodard, the reigning world champion. On the other, Julien Alfred, the reigning Olympic champion. Two women, both born in 2001, both from small nations that had never produced a global sprint star before they showed up. And in the span of one single week in June 2026, these two athletes gave us a preview of just how intense this fight for sprinting supremacy is going to get. It starts in Rome, the Golden Gala, one of the historic Diamond League meetings. And for the first time ever, Jefferson-Woodard and Alfred lined up against each other in the 200 meters. Not their usual battlefield, the 100, but the 200, and the sprint world had been waiting for this matchup for a long time. When the gun went off, Jefferson-Woodard actually got out of blocks faster. For a moment, it looked like she might just run away with it. But Alfred is one of the most dangerous closers in the sport, and through the back half of that race, she reeled Jefferson-Woodard in, and then some, crossing the line in 21.93 to Jefferson-Woodard's 22.17. Alfred won. After the race, she said a win is a win, even though she felt she had more in the tank, that she felt stronger than ever and could have pushed harder in the second half. She also admitted she'd expected exactly the kind of pressure Jefferson-Woodard gave her. Now here's where context matters, and this is the part a lot of people glossed over. Alfred came into that race sharp. She'd already run a 21.86 back in April in Austin, Texas, which at the time was the fastest 200 in the world that season. She was in form, in rhythm, race ready. Jefferson-Woodard, on the other hand, was stepping into her very first individual race of the entire outdoor season. No build-up, no rhythm, nothing to lean on except raw talent. So when she lost, it stung, but it wasn't shock either. What happened next, though, that's the part that should make every sprinter on the planet sit up and pay attention. 3 days later, Jefferson-Woodard landed in Stockholm for the Bauhaus Gallon Diamond League meeting at the historic 1912 Olympic Stadium. And this time, she wasn't running the 200. She was stepping into the blocks for her first 100 meters in 9 months. 9 months without racing the event that made her a world champion. No sharpness, no rust knocked off, nothing but instinct and preparation built behind closed doors. The gun fired, and from that very first step, she took control of the race and never let go. She crossed the line in 10.84 seconds, winning by 0.13 seconds over Great Britain's Amy Hunt, who ran a personal best 10.97 to take second. Luxembourg's Patricia van der Weeken rounded out the podium in 11.05. Further down the field, Italy's Zeynep Dasso finished fifth, and one of the most decorated sprinters in British history, Dina Asher-Smith, could only manage sixth. A 0.13 second winning margin in the 100 meters is not a close race. It's a statement, and Jefferson-Woodard herself confirmed exactly what it meant. She called it her fastest ever season opener over the distance, and said it was very exciting for her. And if you think about what that actually means, this wasn't even close to her ceiling. This was her floor. 9 months of rust, a brutal travel schedule, a loss just 3 days earlier, and she still produced the fastest opening 100 of her career. So now ask yourself, what happens when she's actually sharp? What happens when she's had a full season to build into? Because if 10.84 is what shows up cold, undertrained, and emotionally bruised from a loss, the rest of the season might be terrifying for everyone else in this event. Stick around, because later in this video, I'll tell you exactly when these two are scheduled to clash again in the 100 meters, and why that date might be the most important race of the entire year. To really understand why this moment in Stockholm mattered so much, you have to understand who Melissa Jefferson-Woodard actually is and where she came from. Born February 21st, 2001 in the United States, she built her foundation at Coastal Carolina University, where she won the NCAA indoor 60-meter title back in 2022. Her breakout to global stardom came at the 2024 Paris Olympics, where she won bronze in the 100 meters, talented, clearly arriving, but still standing behind the woman who would become her fiercest rival. That gold in Paris belonged to Julien Alfred. Then 2025 happened, and it changed everything. Jefferson-Woodard went the entire outdoor season undefeated in the 100 meters, lowering her personal best 3 separate times throughout the year. She walked into the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, carrying the 3 fastest times in the world that season. And she didn't just meet expectations, she obliterated them. In the Tokyo final, she ran 10.61 seconds, a championship record, the 4th fastest time ever run by any woman in history, and a winning margin of 0.15 seconds, the 2nd largest margin ever recorded at a world championship final. Alfred, racing through a pulled hamstring suffered in warm-up, still managed bronze at 10.84. But that championship belonged to one athlete, and it wasn't Alfred. Jefferson-Woodard went on to win the 200 meters as well, at 21.68 seconds, and then anchored the gold medal 4x100 relay, becoming only the 2nd woman in history, and the 1st American woman ever, to sweep the 100, the 200, and the relay at a single world championships. The only other woman to ever do that was Jamaica's Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, back in 2013. At 25 years old, Jefferson-Woodard sits fourth on the all-time list in the 100 meters, behind only Florence Griffith Joyner, Elaine Thompson-Herah, and Fraser-Pryce herself. And she's still climbing. But you cannot tell this story without giving equal weight to the other side of this rivalry, because Julien Alfred's path here is just as remarkable, arguably even more improbable. Born June 10th, 2001 on the island of St. Lucia, a Caribbean nation with a population of roughly 180,000 people, Alfred grew up with almost nothing. She's spoken openly about training without proper equipment, running in her school uniform because that's what she had. Her father died when she was only 12 years old. As a teenager, she left her home country chasing a better training environment and eventually landed at the University of Texas, where she became a 7-time individual NCAA champion and the first woman in NCAA history to break 7 seconds in the indoor 60 meters. In February 2024, she won gold at the World Indoor Championships in the 60 meters, the first global senior championship gold medal ever won by any St. Lucian athlete in any sport. And then came Paris. On a rain-soaked track at the Stade de France on August 3rd, 2024, Alfred ran 10.72 seconds to win Olympic gold in the women's 100 meters, beating reigning world champion Sha'Carri Richardson into silver, with Jefferson-Woodard taking bronze behind them. That gold medal wasn't just the biggest moment of Alfred's career. It was the first Olympic medal of any color, in any sport, that St. Lucia had ever won in its history. The government declared an official Julien Alfred Day in her honor, and a major highway on the island was renamed after her. She entered 2026 as the reigning Olympic champion and a 2-time Diamond League Series champion, having won that series in both 2024 and 2025, and that 21.86 in Austin gave her the world lead in the 200 meters heading into the summer. So here's where the rivalry actually stands right now, heading into the back half of the 2026 season. Jefferson-Woodard holds the world title in the 104th fastest time in recorded history. Alfred holds the Olympic gold and back-to-back Diamond League Series titles. They split the field in 2025. And in June 2026, they finally clashed head-to-head in Rome in the 200 meters, and Alfred won that one. They did not meet in Stockholm, but Jefferson-Woodard answered anyway, with the fastest 100-meter season opener of her career. One sprinter is running with the full confidence of an Olympic champion and a world lead in the 200. The other is rebuilding her sharpness in real time and still producing performances that should worry anyone standing across the track from her. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because this isn't over, not even close. Jefferson-Woodard has already confirmed a race at the Prefontaine Classic in Eugene on July 4th, one of the single biggest Diamond League meetings on the entire calendar, which means we get another checkpoint very soon on exactly how far along she really is. But the date that should be circled on every track fan's calendar, the one that could define this entire rivalry for the rest of the year, is August 23rd, 2026, at the Kamila Skolimowska Memorial Diamond League meeting in Silesia, Poland. That is the next confirmed 100-meter showdown between Melissa Jefferson-Woodard and Julien Alfred. Not the 200, not a relay, the 100 meters, the event that defines them both. The event where one of them is world champion and the other is Olympic champion, going head-to-head on the same track at the same time. Think about what we just watched happen in a single week. A loss in Rome, 9 months without racing the 100, a plane ride to Sweden, and then a performance that the athlete herself called the fastest opener of her career. If that's what shows up when she's still finding her form, ask yourself what shows up in Silesia in August, when she's had an entire season to sharpen every single part of her race. Alfred is going to walk into that race with momentum, with a world lead, with the confidence of a reigning Olympic champion who has never backed down from pressure. This is not a one-athlete story anymore. This is a war being fought one race at a time, across different cities, different distances, and different conditions. And every single result is adding pressure to whatever comes next. So when August 23rd arrives, and these two finally step into blocks together in the event that matters most, are you ready to find out who actually owns the women's 100 meters? Because right now, nobody really knows the answer, and that uncertainty is exactly what makes this the most must-watch rivalry in the sport. If you want to be here when that race happens and breaks the internet, make sure you're subscribed, because we will be covering every single step leading up to it.